牵动全球局势的美国大选，本周气氛突变，民调没有太大变化，双方依旧紧咬，难分胜负。但却可以发现，本该始终站在民主党的亲左派媒体开始检讨起贺锦丽的不是。或许是贺锦丽已经习惯友善媒体的提问，轻忽即便是简单轻松的 ABC 电视台聊天型节目，也可能问到关键，像是被问到他和拜登的不同。当时贺锦丽仿佛大脑没启动，直接蹦出“我还没有想法”这几个字。就是这个回应，让那场专访成为宣布参选后最糟，连现场主持人也没法接受。隔没2天，在 CBS 另一个脱口秀节目上，贺锦丽还是没打好，竟然很无厘头的回答：“选前28天，我不是川普。”这几个例子凸显贺锦丽对于区分自己跟拜登政策始终绑手绑脚。他既害怕跟拜登划清界限，流失拜登票源，也害怕表现出当年他在加州当检察长时极左立场的那一面。不敢做自己，又假装很中立，让他的竞选诉求新的前进路线 New Way Forward 完全施展不出来。所谓经济移民政策被迫要跟拜登切割的方式，只好当成幕僚的玩偶，由他们操控，几乎都是跟随参议院领袖舒默和参议员华伦的意志在走。然后走到现在，民调指黑人男性没有充分支持，支持度不如上届拜登。竞选团队也怪起白宫没有做出对竞选最佳化的通盘安排。媒体逮到机会对拜贺之间的心结大做文章，不管真假，其实都非常不利选情。自从拜登退选后，有意化解冲突、制造大和解、名留青史，没有之前竞选时那么锐利，想跟共和党划清界限。这反而令贺锦丽非常难处。近期密集的大量媒体曝光，一再暴露出他的局促。对比川普大炮狂轰，不断推销他的关税或其他政策毫无所据的模样，再加上洗脑式语言，气势非常之高。如果贺锦丽不加把劲，现在的担忧恐怕在未来会成为事实。卸任后一直待在华府替民主党选情操盘的奥巴马，为了帮贺锦丽拉抬声势，明明知道镜头都在，竟板起面孔开始说教。
We have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. And you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses. I've got a problem with that because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly now, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president.
奥巴马双手交叉，不为鼓舞黑人男性党工，不用套交情，却采取相对严厉的口气，极度欲言又止。这番匹兹堡造势前的谈话，不但没引起共鸣，反而适得其反。
Black men took to social media to share their frustration that they did not need anyone to tell them whom they should be voting for. Some black men took pot shots at Barack Obama. One user even said that Obama acted like a black father himself by disappearing for years and only coming back when he had the authority. Many accused Obama, who was also the first black American president, of doing nothing for the black community.
纽时民调指贺仅获得黑人男性约70%的支持，贺锦丽不敢大意，却万万没想到打奥巴马牌也失灵，逼了贺阵营速推机会议程挽救选情。针对黑人小企业主允诺最高2万美元免偿还贷款，《华尔街日报》评析政策实质违宪，兑现率很低，但已经算是贺阵营罕见的竞选牛肉。
What he's trying to say, you're not giving me the love that you're giving to the vice president. No, because she's not you. It's not about whether you're a man or a woman or not, or what your race is. It's about the policies.
There have been so many polls released that says former President Donald Trump is chipping away at the vice president's national lead. You have the USA Today reporting that Trump is in better shape now than he was in 2016. And also 2020.
When they say it's close, it means that Trump is winning in 6 out of 7 battleground states. She's losing ground. Why? Because when you see her on 60 Minutes with Bill Whitaker, when you see her on The View and she says there's not much she would change, when you see her at a Univision town hall and it looks like there's a prompter in the background, which means it could have been a setup, People want to know who Vice President Kamala Harris is. And their strategy is to say less, and because you're not Trump, you will win. That strategy is not working anymore. That is why you see her out with this serious media blitz, not doing real interviews with real journalists, but soft journalists, at least to say she's answering these softball questions. But she can't even answer the softball questions.
Kamala Harris looking like she's in the fight of her life as polls suggest her narrow national lead is shrinking.
民调紧绷意料之中，却没想到平时声援民主党的左派媒体，在选前不到20天，竟开启检讨模式。
She didn't seem prepared. The question you asked her got a ton of press about, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
This is an election of change. I'm confused about is either she wasn't prepared, which I don't think so, because I think she over-prepares, or she doesn't have a difference to sell.
ABC 节目没接好招，隔壁台 CBS 的专访也照打迷糊仗。
I mean, I'm obviously not Joe Biden, and so that would be one change in terms of. But also, I think it's important to say, with 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump.
Do you yet know who you are voting for?
No, I don't.
She says she's leaning towards Harris, but she's nervous about the vice president's lack of experience on the world stage.
I'm a registered Republican, but I am not voting for Trump. This might be a little controversial, but his support for Israel and the war in Gaza, that's like a deal breaker for me.
Is that not Kamala Harris then, if you're not voting for Trump?
I definitely don't trust Kamala Harris.
Does it feel like more young people are becoming more conservative or trending in that direction?
Definitely.
无脑表述对选情是重伤。贺锦丽首度接受保守派媒体专访，这次总算有备而来。
You're not Joe Biden, you're not Donald Trump, but nothing comes to mind that you would do differently?
Let me be very clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. And like every new president that comes into office, I will bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh and new ideas. I represent a new generation of leadership.
贺锦丽竞选以来，既要忠于不受欢迎的拜登政府，又要推销自己改革者的形象，两者极其矛盾。不止媒体爱做文章，更实际加剧拜贺之间的摩擦。
Mr. President, have you spoken with former President Trump at all?
Are you kidding me? Mr. President Trump, former President Trump, get a life, man. Help these people.
明明不爽川普对救灾造谣，要求媒体究责川普，但拜登却用一抹微笑带过。
Do you plan to speak with former President Trump?
No.
媒体故意戳拜登用拜川热线这种荒谬提问，是因为记者都已察觉，从拜登戴起川普红帽子开始，似有若无，就是往共和党走近了一点。尤其在称赞佛州州长之后。
Mr. President, does Governor DeSantis need to take Vice President Harris's calls?
All I can tell you is I'm talking to Governor DeSantis. He's been very gracious. He's thanked me for all we've done. He knows what we're doing, and I think that's important.
原本贺锦丽想透过2次飓风展现统御大局的领导力，但每每不如预期。白宫幕僚透露，贺借机引战德桑提斯非常蠢，不只陷拜登于不义，更让自己难堪。
We're going to have to. I know I'm going to go to Vice President in a second. She's my boss.
两人之间根本没有表面上那么和睦。
These sources felt that the decisions that the Harris campaign was making showed their relative inexperience and novice, and while he's been bending over backwards to give her opportunities to demonstrate her leadership, she's fumbled it a couple of times.
有媒体指贺办不满白宫未尽力就讯息和行程上做出最有利选情的调整，也有传出贺锦丽接手拜登竞选旧部，却制造排挤，还怀疑他们的忠诚。
They highlighted a few times the president's impromptu remarks conflicted with an event that Harris was doing, upending the media coverage that Harris would then receive.
最可怕的是，其他媒体求证贺办是不是真的跟白宫有嫌隙，竟然得到回答是不予置评，而不是予以否认。78岁的克林顿本周也开始出现在乔治亚和北卡，参与巴士巡游，替贺锦丽拉票。
A young woman who'd been killed by an immigrant. Yeah, well, if they'd all been properly vetted, that probably wouldn't have happened. And the cynicism of killing a bill just so you can keep people torn up and upset.
It's close. It's always going to be close. It was always going to be close. And the fact that Democrats are panicking, I mean, I'm not shocked by it. I'm annoyed by it because, you could do all the panicking you want, but it's going to come true if folks don't get out and vote.
谁也没料到这么快气氛就翻转。虽然没有人能保证结果，但贺如果接下来总是自证做不了女版奥巴马，那么真的可能眼睁睁的看川普走进白宫。